Welcome back to Top 10 Scary Urban Legends here, and today we're back with yet another US state. Almost done every state. Almost. So today we'll be talking about the top 10 scary South Carolina urban legends. I'm your host Andrew, and let's get right into it. Number 10, the death of Julia Lagar. Back in the mid-1800s, a young woman named Julia Lagar was visiting family and then suddenly fell ill. She slipped into a coma shortly after, and despite her family's hopes and prayers, she never woke up from it. The family physician declared her dead, and Julia was lovingly dressed for her funeral. In those days, there was no embalming fluids or preservation methods, so the ceremonial activities surrounding death were conducted at a very rapid pace. Julia was buried on the same day as her death, with loved ones paying their last respects. Her little body was taken to the family mausoleum, and the door was closed and locked. But 15 years later, another death in the family required the mausoleum to be opened once again. And to the horror of the family, they discovered that Julia's remains were crumpled at the foot of the mausoleum door. So basically, she had been buried alive. It was believed that the family physician was wrong and that she was in a deep coma where her respiratory and heart rates dropped precariously low. The tragedy of Julia's death led to a strange phenomenon that still continues to this day. The door of the mausoleum would open and close by itself. Chains and unbreakable locks were used to keep it sealed, but they would always break somehow. As recently as 50 years ago, they put a door that could only be removed by industrial heavy machinery, and even that door was opened. It is said that Julia's spirit guards the mausoleum, making sure no one dares put a door back on the building that killed her all those years ago. Visitors to the church head to the cemetery every year to take a look at the mausoleum, and some claim to have captured mysterious images on their camera. Number 9, boo hags. In South Carolina's Gula culture, there is a folklore creature called the boo hag. According to legend, boo hags are similar to vampires, but instead of nourishing blood, they feed off a person's breath by riding their victims. And it kind of looks something like this. And I know it looks like something else, but remember, there is nothing pleasurable about this. The boo hags are said to have no skin, which gives them this red appearance. So they will steal a victim's skin and use it as a disguise while they're out riding. They will then remove and hide the skin before they return home. The boo hag usually gain access to a victim's home by finding small openings like cracks or holes in the wall, and then they position themselves above the sleeping victim and just suck their breath. This makes the victims helpless and induces a very deep sleep. They tend to leave the victim alive so they could just use them again. However, if the victim struggles, the hag may just take their skin, leaving the victim to suffer, or worse, just die. After taking the victim's energy, the hag just flies off, as they must be in their skin before dawn or be trapped without skin. Victims of the creature may wake up feeling tired or short of breath, but that's only if you're lucky to be alive. There's an expression that's often used in South Carolina saying, "Don't let the hag ride you," which refers to this legend. It is also believed that placing a broom beside your bed before sleeping would prevent the hag from riding, as it would distract the hag into counting the straws and would not get to ride the person before the sunrise. So don't forget, keep your brooms by your bed. Number 8, Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia Fisher, born in 1793, is considered to be the first widely recognized female serial killer in the United States. Though her birth location and maiden name are unknown, her story has been passed down through generations as a cautionary tale. Legend has it that Fisher and her husband John operate a hotel called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House near Charleston, South Carolina in the early 1800s. As time went by, men visiting Charleston began to disappear, and it was determined that they were last seen at this hotel. Despite an investigation by local authorities, no evidence was found to connect the Fishers to the crimes, so the investigation was cold and just dropped. But more people would disappear, and all the leads just brought them back to this hotel. Just for background information, Lavinia was known for her beauty and her charm, and had been using these qualities to lure in unsuspecting male travelers to their hotel. There they would rob and proceed to murder them after. For example, John Peoples, a traveler from Georgia, stopped at the hotel and was warmly greeted by Lavinia. She invited him in for tea and a meal, but he soon started feeling really uncomfortable with all the information he had provided and worried he might become a target for robbery. He managed to escape and flee to authorities in Charleston, and this is when the Fishers were finally arrested. They searched the entire hotel, and the authorities found evidence of dozens of travelers, a tea laced with an herb that can put someone for sleep for hours, and a mechanism that could be triggered to open the floorboards beneath the bed. And when they went into the basement, they found as many as hundreds of sets of human remains. The Fishers pleaded not guilty, but were ordered to stay in jail until their trial. Then in May 1820, they were found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. Number Number 7, the lizard man of Scape or Swamp. Deep in the swampland of Bishopville, South Carolina, lies a reptilian creature that has terrorized the state since the 1980s. The lizard man of Scape or Swamp, also known as the lizard man of Lee County, has been reported to inhabit this area for decades, leaving many to wonder about its existence. The first sighting began in July 1988 when the Lee County Sheriff's Office investigated a report of a car damaged overnight in the area of Browntown. The car had tooth marks, scratches, and muddy footprints left behind, which was very odd to begin with, but this eventually kickstarted the entire legend. Prompted by this news, a 17-year-old local named Christopher Davis reported to the sheriff as well, saying that his car was damaged by a creature 2 weeks prior. He described the creature as being 7 feet tall with green wet-like skin, 3 fingers, red eyes, and snake-like scales. This claim of encountering the creature set off a media frenzy. Newspapers, radio, and television stations started to report on the story. Local businesses even began selling Lizard Man t-shirts, and the local Chamber of Commerce encouraged the media attention as good for the community. A local radio station even offered $1 million for a reward for anyone who's able to capture the creature alive. However, with time, reports of the sightings gradually declined, and law enforcement officials speculated that the sightings were likely to just be a bear. But a bear and a lizard are significantly 2 different creatures, so who knows what these people just saw. Number 6, the Gray Man. Palsy Island in South Carolina is a summer resort town that boasts of beautiful beaches, tranquil marshes, and historic homes. But beyond its natural beauty, it is also home to a mysterious legend of the Gray Man, who is a figure said to appear on the beach prior to every single major hurricane that has struck the island for more than 200 years. According to the locals, seeing the Gray Man is a sign of danger for impending storms, obviously for hurricanes as we just mentioned. Eyewitness accounts vary, but most people describe the Gray Man as a figure dressed in all gray clothing. Obviously, they appear on the beach either stepping out of the dunes or waving to boaters from the shore before vanishing without a word. The majority of the sightings have occurred in Palsy Island, but there's also been reports of sightings in other coastal towns nearby. One of the most famous encounters with the Gray Man took place in 1989, just 2 days before Hurricane Hugo came about. Locals Jim and Clara Moore were just taking a walk on the beach when they saw a lone figure walking towards them. As he got closer, Jim raised his hand to say hi, but the figure disappeared right before his eyes. Their home suffered little damage during the storm, and Claire attributes this to their good fortune to the Gray Man and the Lord. The next time you're on vacation in Palsy Island, keep an eye out for the Gray Man. And remember, if you see him, it might be wise to heed his warning and seek shelter. In the hump of our list, we have the Third-Eyed Man. If you didn't know, the University of South Carolina is home to a network of mysterious underground tunnels known as the Catacombs. And no, not the one from Paris, but still pretty creepy. These tunnels in the university have a rich history dating back to the 1800s, where it is said to have been used for the Civil War. But beneath the surface of these historical tunnels lies a dark legend, one that has kept students and locals alike on edge for decades. The Third-Eyed Man is said to be a mutant humanoid creature who resides in the catacombs. The first documented sighting of the bizarre creature was on November 12, 1949, when a student at the university spotted a strange man entering the sewer manhole outside Long Street Theater. The student Christopher Nichols wrote about his encounter in the campus newspaper, dubbing the creature as the Sewer Man, although this is not really confirmed as there is no mention of this in the newspaper archives. The following year, the Third-Eyed Man was spotted once again, this time by a university police officer. The officer saw scattered chicken remains all around the loading dock of Long Street Theater, and here is when he saw a strange man hunch over them, described as having a grotesque and distorted feature with a third eye in the center of his forehead and silver skin. Number 4, the Ghost Hound of Goshen Hill. The Ghost Hound of Goshen is a creature that is said to lurk on Buncombe Road, between the Ebenezer Church in Newberry County and the Goshen Hill in Union County in South Carolina. This ghostly hound is known to chase anyone who dares to trespass its territory, but fortunately it has never caught anyone, as far as we know. The origin of the ghost hound is shrouded in complete mystery, but some say it was once the pet of a peddler who was falsely accused of murder and hanged. His dog, unable to accept the loss of his master, is said to have remained by his grave until it died of starvation or was said to have been killed by townsfolk. The first recorded sighting of the ghost hound happened in 1855. A young houseworker who was sent to fetch a doctor was terrified by an enormous white dog that followed him all the way to the doctor's home, as well as claiming it was the largest dog he has ever seen. The doctor dismissed the boy's story, but it wasn't long before more and more people had encounters with the hound. Number 3, the Poinsett Bridge. The Poinsett Bridge, located in the northern mountains of Greenville County, South Carolina, is a historical bridge that is considered to be the most haunted bridge in the state as well. The bridge is believed to have been been designed by Robert Mills, who is a native of South Carolina and an architect of many notable buildings such as the Washington Monument and the US Treasury Building. And it is also named after Joel Poinsett, a politician from South Carolina who served as a president of the state's Board of Public Works during its construction. But the Poinsett Bridge is not just famous for its history and architecture, but also for its paranormal activity. There are stories of workers falling ill and dying during its construction, with legends saying that a body is buried within the bridge. Others claim that ghostly workers from Ireland return to visit the bridge at night, while another legend tells of a man who was shot and killed on the bridge in 1861, whose headless body returns on rainy nights. Visitors have reported ghostly encounters, eerie sounds, and sudden car troubles. And to add to its validity, Poinsett Bridge is considered one of the 30 most haunted places in America by the CN Traveler. Number 2, Morgan Island. Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is a small island located off the coast of South Carolina in the United States. It is home to a species of monkey that were introduced to the island in the 1970s for scientific research. The monkeys quickly adapted to their new environment and their population grew rapidly. Today, there is an estimated 4,000 monkeys living on this island. While the monkeys may seem cute and harmless, they can be aggressive and have been known to attack visitors to the island. And to make matters worse, they say the monkeys are naturally infected with herpes B, which is completely deadly to us. As a result, the island is off limits to the public and can only be visited with permission from the research facility that manages the monkey population. In addition to the monkeys, Morgan Island is home to a variety of other wildlife that may scare you. This includes alligators, snakes, and all sorts of poisonous and venomous creatures. And obviously, only researchers are allowed here. And funny enough, their first rule when they come here is to not get peed on by the monkeys because it can literally be fatal. Number 1, Battery Carriage House. If you're a paranormal enthusiast and you're in Charleston, South Carolina, you may consider staying a night at the Battery Carriage House Inn, which is known to be the most haunted hotel in the city. The Battery Carriage House Inn has a rich history dating back to 1843 when it was purchased by Samuel N. Stevens, who is a prosperous lender and a broker of crops. The property has changed hands several times over the years, including during the Civil War when it was used as a defense base against Union intruders. The last owner, Andrew Simons, was a phosphate mining businessman and the founder of the First National Bank of South Carolina. Today, the hotel is owned by Drayden Hasty, the great-great-grandson of Andrew Simmons. The inn's haunted reputation is not to be taken lightly too, as there has been multiple ghostly encounters reported by guests and staff members alike. Room 8 is said to be the most haunted, with a headless torso ghost that is said to be sitting in the middle of the room. Guests say this ghost meets them during some nights and even growls at them. Room 10 is also said to be visited by a gentleman ghost who crawls into the bed with female guests and disappears through a built-in entertainment unit when confronted. The hotel staff also speculates that the ghost in room 8 may be a Civil War soldier who was the victim of a munition accident. The ghost in room 10, however, is said to be the spirit of a man who has an untimely death at the inn. Would you stay a night at this hotel? Cause I probably wouldn't. Well, these are the top 10 scary South Carolina urban legends. What do you guys think about this list? Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, but don't forget to like and subscribe to this video for some more content. I'm your host Andrew, and I hope you guys have a scary day.